Dudes.
What's up, dude? Deuteramus. So, this week was a Nic Cage movie.
Nic Cage,
and I've been
legend.
I've been wanting to talk about this because Nic Cage hasn't been in a ton of good stuff lately, but I felt like we started to get his resurgence.
I disagree. He's been in a lot of good stuff lately.
I disagree. We're going to disagree on that one, so we'll talk about that. But he was in that Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which you haven't seen, but I'm going to show it to you. It was great. And to me, that was like the start of his resurgence of doing good stuff. And then you suggested Dream Scenario, which I had seen the trailer for. And wow, what a crazy-ass movie that was.
Oh, yeah. Bonkers.
So, all right. How should we even start on this? How do you describe... I guess we should just kind of summarize it for people and spoiler alerts, because if you're watching this, you've probably seen Dream Scenario and you want to tune in to find out if other people are talking about it and experienced this craziness.
We can try to keep it spoiler free.
Well, mostly, but we can.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's some scenes we just got to talk about.
Oh yeah.
So, Nic Cage plays a college professor, and one day, people just start dreaming about him. Just
random people, not just people he knows.
Yeah.
Like across the world, he appears in their dreams.
And he's not doing anything. He's just
standing there.
Just standing there.
Just being a guy. Just being a dude.
Just being a dude.
Just being a dude.
One of Nic Cage being a dude. But he gets a certain level of fame, and then all of a sudden, it shifts into nightmares.
Well, yeah. So before that happens, you have to understand who this character is, right? So he's a professor, and that's not all he is. He's a professor that craves validation. He craves attention. So there's a scene where he's talking to an old colleague of his that he thinks has stolen one of his ideas for research.
Right.
Right? And he really wants credit for his idea. And she's like, oh, it wasn't your idea. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean, you did it, whatever. But she did eventually steal his idea. But he really wants the attention. He's lacking something in his life. And he's a bit of a loser. He's midlife crisis type of thing. And he's got a wife, but they're not totally happy.
She hates him. You can tell.
She doesn't hate him at first, but she really starts to hate him.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, you could tell that there's something missing. There's just they're not connecting or whatever. I don't think his kids, his daughter, appreciates him that much. He just feels like a neglected kind of guy, and he wants that. He wants his professional recognition for being, I guess, a genius or being smart or whatever, but he ends up getting this unwanted, unexpected, random thing happen, and that brings all of the attention that he was craving.
Well, we don't even know if he's a genius, right? He thinks highly of himself.
True, yeah.
But nobody else really thinks highly of him, right? And some of it's because he's an annoying personality. He's Nic Cage playing Nic Cage, essentially, right? I mean, the personality is there, right? He rubs people the wrong way, and he says the wrong things all the time, and he's kind of a jerk when in his classroom to his students. So he really is a lost soul at this point. He's trying to find something, right?
What did you think of Nic Cage's performance overall? To me, this is best I've seen him in years.
I mean, he's just always the same kind of character, right? It reminded me a lot of a mix of Con Air, Nic Cage, and Nic Cage and what was the other? Just the crazy Raising Arizona type of stuff, right? I mean, he plays pretty much the same guy every time, but it's interesting.
There's a movie that he's in called The Weatherman.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that one?
I have not heard of it.
So if you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy that. This performance reminded me very much of The Weatherman, where he's getting a lot of undue hate as the weatherman because it's hard to predict the weather, and it was almost the exact opposite. He's got a family that he's separated from, and his kids have issues, but I thought it was a very Nic Cagean performance where, he kind of plays this guy who feels like he's been wronged in some kind of way, or just has this general, feels like the world is against him.
Right.
And he's very good at playing that. I don't know if that's just a natural thing that he does, but he's very good at it. And in Dream Scenario, so everybody's dreaming about him. He becomes a national hero, and then people start having nightmares, and he gets canceled. So to me, it was like a take on cancel culture too.
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed when the nightmares started. Like, do you recall a certain event where that kind of shifted for him?
I don't. No.
So there's the woman who has the dream about him,
Yes. Was
and
that the beginning?
no, it was when he went to go meet the marketing
Okay.
department. So this woman sees her in the elevator, and she's obviously been having different dreams about him than other people have had
Yes.
because she's having dreams where he's doing stuff.
Yes, they're like very sexual, kind of like.
Right.
So she just to give the visual, she invites him back to her apartment, and she makes him reenact. And this is to me the best scene in the movie. She makes him reenact the dream where he's kind of standing over in the corner in the darkness,
creepy.
and she's making him do this, and it cuts back and forth between her dream and the reality. And then like he comes and sits on the couch, and she's like instructing him, and then in the dream he supposedly takes her by force or whatever, and she wanted that, but then like in reality he's too meek to do that, and then he just starts farting.
It's not even that he's meek. He's like he's committed to his wife, and he's really conflicted about this. But again, that personality that craves attention, that craves validation,
Yeah.
is kind of coming out. And then, he farts, and
The farting was best.
It's over. It's over before it starts, and then he farts again in a sad, pathetic ending of that. But that's when the nightmares start.
Yeah.
Because everything else has been pretty tame. Because then there's a sequence of him basically murdering his students.
Yes.
Right? And then he goes to class, and there's not as many students there. You're like, wait, did he kill all the students?
Yeah.
But we get explained that, actually, they just have been having nightmares about him killing them.
Yeah, and it had a very Nightmare on Elm Street kind of feel to it.
It even does the glove later on with
they mocked that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought they played well on that. It almost felt like a prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit.
I personally think that he was actually doing that stuff. And the dream is him happy and living his life and being a professor and having a wife and kids and being. So I think he was actually
A serial killer?
a serial killer. And his delusion is that he's able to have a happy life. Because at the end, when he's hugging his wife, you hear him whisper, "I wish this was real."
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
So I think that's probably what's going on. But yeah, who knows? I mean, what's good about this film is you never know what's real and what's not at any given time.
Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit of that Total Recall feel.
Yeah.
Do you remember Total Recall,
I do.
the 87 version? So, you find out about 20 minutes into the movie that people were trying to stop Arnold Schwarzenegger from proceeding in what they're saying is a dream. They're like, if you take this, you'll wake up. If not, you'll suffer, yada, yada, yada. You'll be fully lobotomized or whatever. And then there's a scene where the guy's like, blue sky on Mars, never seen that. And then later that's kind of the ending of the movie is there's a blue sky on Mars. So you kind of feel like it's a dream the whole time. But in this one, I didn't pick up on it being a dream the whole time. I kind of just thought that like they had introduced this thing where you can control people's dreams and all that. And I took it as, okay, he's choosing his dream. He's having a lucid dream where he's with his wife.
It could be that he's on that dream equipment the entire time as well.
And he's, I thought of him like taking the drug or going into a dream and visiting his wife in the dream.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be because the validation thing. He wants to be a part of people's lives constantly. Maybe he's figured out a way to do that. Maybe he's known the whole time. What's interesting, my favorite scene was when he's jogging and he just starts getting pegged by arrows.
By arrows, and it's him.
It's just like it's him.
Yeah.
He's followed himself with like arrows. And it's like,
well, you can't shoot yourself. Like, I mean, that kind of does away with that being the real world. You know what I mean? Like that has to be a dream.
Maybe, but he's also obviously very not well.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think it's blending the worlds pretty well where you can't really tell. There are things that kind of throw you off in both realms, but yeah.
That's one of the best things about this type of movie is that it's open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And I was able to watch it 2 times, right?
Yeah.
I can't go back and watch a very straightforward movie 2 times in 3 days.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. But something like this where it's, oh man. And the dream sequences, visually well done.
Yeah.
Like very, very high production value. I don't know how this movie didn't get more attention. This is honestly one of the best movies I've seen in years.
It's like the studio that does this, A24. They do a lot of good underground indie films.
Yeah,
I believe they did Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I believe so.
So have you seen that one?
I have seen that. I like
Another
that movie.
great like off the wall kind of horror film, but like not quite horror film.
Yeah,
More like a horror comedy.
I've got a whole playlist set up of just A24 movies. I feel like a lot of what they do is like the first one that I ever saw was Uncut Gems, which I know is on the list for you to watch, and maybe we should do that because we've been doing this whole thing where we
pick a movie.
We
for
pick
each
a
other.
movie for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Uncut Gems is I think going to be the next one I pick for you, and then you can pick one for me.
I'm trying to remember who did. It was Lionsgate who did. Lionsgate's another good one.
Yeah,
They did like American Psycho and like those types of films. So
yeah.
some of those studios, those like smaller studios, do really good work. Now, when I was talking about Nicolas Cage movies, like thinking how he has other good movies recently, have you heard of Pig?
I have Pig. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I had trouble with Pig.
Yeah.
I found it to be very slow, and so basically this guy's prize pig basically gets I forget if it gets killed or kidnapped or whatever.
It's basically like Taken and John Wick,
Yeah.
but with a pig.
Right. He's like he starts killing everybody in his path to get his pig back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was wild. But other than that, I feel like there's been a lot of stuff he's been in lately. That there was like Wild Willie's Wonderful World of whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called.
Well, he's admitted to doing a lot of these films because he needs the money.
Yeah.
Like he's
Didn't
made
he-
some bad investments.
He bought like a T-Rex bone or something like that. And
Something
then,
like that, yeah.
And then like the museum said, well, you're not allowed to buy that. You have to give it back to us. And he never got paid for it or whatever. And then he had tax issues for a while, which can be a pain in the butt. So
Little known fact, he's a Coppola.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's related to Francis Ford Coppola.
What's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie? Like if you had to pick one off the shelf that say, I'm going to watch this.
So I really liked Raising Arizona. I really liked the David Lynch movie he did was Wild at Heart.
I never saw Wild at Heart.
Yeah, those were good. Con Air, I think.
Con Air is a great one.
It's like cheesy and silly, but I like it.
Cyrus the Virus is my favorite. And Steve Buscemi's
the
character was...
the crazy serial killer guy, the Hannibal Lecter.
How's irony? A bunch of idiots dancing on a plane to a song by a band that died in a plane crash.
Yes.
So my favorite Nick Cage movie is one that probably a lot of, other than maybe Dream Scenario and Weatherman. I love those, but old school Nick Cage is one called Snake Eyes.
Oh yeah,
where he plays like a promoter type guy, but he's also a detective or a cop. He's some kind of officer or whatever. And there's a shooting at a boxing match. So I love boxing. I like the whole like spectacle of that and all these different witnesses and camera angles, and they're studying film. And it was just like a really interesting story. I got captivated by that one, but I haven't seen it in a long time, so I got to go back and rewatch
Face Off.
Face Off was great.
Wasn't he in The Rock?
He was in The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock was great.
National Treasure.
National Treasure is fantastic. The first one was great. I didn't love the second one as much, but I do like the concept of like searching for treasure movies like the Goonies and things like that. Goonies is one we should talk about one day.
Goonies is awesome.
I
had my son watch that for the first time recently. He loved it. We were talking about recent movies with Nicolas Cage. Another one I was thinking of that it was a good one that he would do is Renfield.
Renfield was really good. He was good in that too, as Dracula.
Yeah,
as Dracula. Yeah, that one. I feel like I wasn't expecting it to be as violent and gory as it ended up being.
Well, it's a vampire movie.
Yeah, it's a vampire movie, but I expected
of course it's going to be violent.
I expected it to be kind of like a comedy. It was a comedy,
Oh,
but it was brutal.
Yeah,
Brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, big fan of the movie you picked this week. Next time, I'm going to say it right now. You got to watch Uncut Gems.
All right, I'll watch that.
And you could pick one for me.
That was on the list as a potential for me when you had it on the list. And then there was the one I wanted to see, but I have to wait because my wife wants to see it. Is the Banshees?
Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah.
So the thing about Banshees of Inisherin is that not a lot happens. It's a very slow human story. So there's not going to be a lot to talk about with that one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Good movie. Good time killer. I took a couple of people to see it. Like I saw it the first time, and then I took my brothers to see it, and they were like, "Wow, that was slow and sucked." But I enjoyed it. I like a good slow burn.
Have you seen the other Colin Farrell thing like that he did a similar in nature as In Bruges?
I love In Bruges, and it's got the same guy too.
Yeah.
Other than Colin Farrell,
Yeah.
I forget his name.
He's also in like Gangs of New York. That guy, that actor.
He's a good actor.
Yeah.
And he plays Trump in the Comey role on Showtime. There's this series that came out during Trump's administration about the whole Comey firing thing, and he plays Trump, and he does it very well. There's this scene where Trump is sitting in the Oval Office, and someone, I think it's Comey, who's played by Jeff Daniels, comes in and says, "Oh, those curtains, those are the same curtains that Bill Clinton had up." And it's like, obviously, it's just a fact. Like, those are the same curtains that Bill Clinton had. And Trump sits there for me and goes, "Those aren't the same curtains." It's just, he does it really well. It's really well written. Or he's just like, I'm just going to ignore that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good pick on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so what else is next? Like, what should we... What should be on the next list of movies that we should
let
watch
us know,
for
man.
each
Like
other?
if you got something to suggest, something that you think we haven't seen or something maybe we have seen.
Yeah.
And you want to hear talk about it, let us know. Another good, I don't know if you've seen the trilogy, the Hot Fuzz trilogy.
I saw Hot Fuzz, but I haven't seen
Shaun of the Dead.
No, Shaun of the Dead was one I've seen.
Yeah.
And then I saw Hot Fuzz, and there's one more that I didn't
World's
see.
End.
I didn't see World's End.
Okay.
That's what it was.
So maybe that's another one we need to talk about, the trilogy.
I'd want to have to go back. I'd have to go back and rewatch Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, it's worth a rewatch.
Yeah,
it's
been a while. So I've been doing more of the zombie stuff. I know we've talked about zombies on the show before.
Yeah.
But I watched this new one with the Rick and Michonne characters from The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah. The ones who lived or whatever.
The ones who live. It's a mini-series. I didn't realize it was a 6-episode mini-series. I thought it was going to be like the beginning of a multi-season kind of thing.
I don't think they wanted to sign on for that. They've got other stuff going on.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got to be getting tired of zombie world by now.
Yeah.
But really good. I mean, I was way blown away. I was not expecting that. And there's another one called Dead City.
Yeah, that's
that Negan and Maggie.
Yep.
Also quite good.
There's also one with Norman Reedus. Daryl's got one.
I have not watched that one yet.
Yeah.
I was never a big Daryl fan. You connect with different characters.
I liked Daryl. I liked his brother better, Merle.
Yeah, I thought
Merle's
he was.
awesome.
And then
That's
died.
Michael Rooker. He plays in the Guardians movies. And I didn't realize this, but Norman Reedus was actually in Boondock Saints.
I don't think I've ever seen Boondock Saints.
That's another good one we got.
I know people have been telling me that for years.
Yeah.
It's like they're like Irish or something, right?
Yeah, it's like an Irish Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think I remember watching it, and I was like 20 minutes into it. I'm like, what? I was not expecting this. I was like, what is this? And I just turned it off. So I mean, I probably gave up on it too.
Yeah,
quickly.
Probably.
It is what it is.
I did that with Usual Suspects the first time I saw it.
I got some real problems with Usual Suspects.
I love Usual Suspects.
I like it, but I got some. First of all, I love the scene where they're like, "Hand me the keys," and they got to say it over, and the one guy's just like, "Give me the fucking keys, you cocksucker motherfucker!" To me, that's one of the greatest lines and best deliveries in movie history. I just thought it was weird that Kaiser Sose, and spoiler for this old ass movie, it was like there were scenes that he was in, like he was remembering a different type of person, and I felt like we were misled on who Kaiser Sose was. Like they showed a different guy, and there were scenes where he shouldn't have been like able to recall this or whatever, but it was clear they actually happened, and then some of it was made up. I just felt like it was like the twist. Like I get it. I for a second I was like, okay, I get the twist. That's pretty cool. And then I was like, nah, no, that's not.
But he was making it up as he went because he had the whole board behind him.
So none of it was true.
Some of it was, some of it wasn't.
And that's what I get.
But he was just like trying to like throw this detective off a scent.
All right, we're gonna do a Usual Suspects episode because I haven't seen it in so many years because it pisses me off. So
the first time I watched it, I shut it off in like 10 minutes. Like, man, this sucks. Like, all right, I'll give it another try.
We should also do a Tarantino episode.
Yeah.
Are you a Tarantino fan?
I like most of his stuff. Yeah, like some of it's. I've never really gotten to Reservoir Dogs, but I like a lot of like the newer stuff he's done, like Django Unchained, Hateful Eight.
See, Hateful Eight is the only one I didn't like, and I don't even think that I've made it all the way through because it's so long, and I get like an hour and a half in. I'm like, oh, come on.
I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet.
So some people love it, some people don't. I enjoyed it a lot. I've seen it a few times. I thought it was really well acted, but it was that typical Quentin Tarantino thing where it could have been an hour shorter, and the ending was, I mean, it was a Tarantino ending, so it was, you kind of saw it coming.
My favorite is Inglourious Bastards.
That was a good one. Yeah, where they shoot Hitler in the
All the
face.
Rains.
Yeah.
I got my scouts.
Yeah, killing Nazis.
Killing Nazis.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. I'm glad that he teamed up with Quentin and they became.
And Christoph Waltz was excellent.
Christoph Waltz's opening scene where he's describing.
Soshana.
Yeah, and there's somebody hiding there. And it just.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz. He's got an unbelievable ability to just be menacing.
Yeah.
For such a little guy.
Yep.
Menacing. And in Django, he was great as. Like, he'd drive around in the dentist truck, and I forget what his name was. In that,
Yeah, I can't remember either. He was another German guy, but I think him and Mads Mikkelsen should do like some movie together. That'd be a great combo.
So you're a Mads Mikkelsen
Oh,
fan?
I love Mads Mikkelsen.
So we already talked about Hannibal. There's a movie that is worth discussing, and there's anybody out there who likes foreign films or doesn't mind subtitles. There's a movie called The Hunt, and it's about Mads Mikkelsen plays a kindergarten teacher. And one of the kids makes up a story that he did something inappropriate or whatever. And the entire town like turns against him on like a false accusation. And it's just a really well done movie. Like, people start attacking him, somebody poisons his dog. Like, a lot of bad things happen to this guy for something that was just a lie.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought that was done really well. And there's another one that I've been wanting to watch. It's on my list. It's called Another Round, where he plays an alcoholic. But I saw the trailer and it looked really good.
Of that, yeah.
I do that a lot. I'll watch the trailer and I'll buy the movie, and then it'll be like 5 years before I watch the movie.
He was in Rogue One. He was very good in Rogue One.
Rogue One, he was great. It was one of those ones I just recently watched again. To me, favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, best.
Of any
Not
of
even just favorite, just best overall. Like, just well written,
I think because it was kind of meant to be like a standalone story.
Even if it, like, I wish they would do that with all the Star Wars movies. There's like, because it's just so well written and acted. Like, make it that.
Yes.
Like, don't focus so much on the world and like the building the character, like the little anime characters.
You have a universe. There's no need to build the universe.
You don't need to sell toys.
Right.
You're already selling toys.
Right. You've got this universe. Pick stories within this universe. That's my big complaint about Batman right now. Is that every Batman is, okay, we have to recreate his parents getting shot, and we have to reintroduce the Joker and reintroduce the whoever.
Yeah.
No, here's what you do. You take Batman, you take a good Batman character, and you have him try and solve a really tough crime, like Matlock.
Like
you might want to get your mic a little bit closer, by the way.
Oh, that's what the Batman did.
Yeah, the Batman was pretty good.
It was a detective.
It
film.
was, but again, it was like the whole city was going to be destroyed. End of the world. Like, I feel like it was too much. Just have the Riddler killing people.
It doesn't have to be the end of the world every time. Like, he doesn't have to fly the Batwing into the ocean every time.
Right. So it was. Yeah. It was. If it would just be Batman trying to find the Riddler, who is basically the killer from Seven or Saw, that type of thing, I think it would be unbelievable. So that's why I like the cartoons so much more.
Yeah.
Like Gotham over Gaslight or
Gotham by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gas. To me, that's the best.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even take place in our time period. It's just like a detective cartoon with Batman and these cool characters. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, frickin' watch that because it's amazing.
See, what bothers me about a lot of the Batman movies is he's a regular guy, but they make him do things that are beyond what any actual normal regular person can do. Have it be more grounded in reality. Like, I do like where they've started making him actually take on damage.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just like dodging bullets and stuff. Now he's like, you can see it's taking a toll on his body, but falling, like there was one where he fell off a building.
Yeah.
Right? That would have killed any. I don't care how much armor you have on.
You still get concussed.
Concussion, broken things, right? Like, stop with that stuff.
That was my favorite part about The Dark Knight Rises was that Bruce Wayne. It was basically like a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Right? Because he lost in the first act to Bane. He got his ass kicked.
Yep, got back
and he went to a doctor, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, your cartilage is messed up. You have repeated concussive damage. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't go heli skiing." And then he works his way back. He does some push-ups and jumps out of the cave, whatever. But when I think about The Flash, right, which we just watched, you got Michael Keaton playing the 60-year-old version of Batman.
Right.
And even though it was really cool to see that version, like, of Michael Keaton doing all the Batman stuff where he flies in and starts kicking all these people's asses. To me, it almost seemed too superhero-y for him.
Yeah, like for, grabbing onto the grappling hook to things.
Yeah.
Your arm would be ripped out of your socket.
Yeah.
Like if you're just a regular dude, right? So that's always been my problem with the Batman movies. They go too far. Like it's just too much, right?
I liked what they did in, I think it was either Batman vs Superman or might have been Justice League, where the kid asks Batman, or maybe Cyborg asks somebody asks Batman, what's your superpower? And he goes, I'm rich.
Yes. Yeah.
What'd you think of the Snyder Cut?
I mean, it added a little bit more to it. I often think that he was trying to do too many storylines in that movie. Like he needed to pick one because he wanted to do the Injustice storyline. He wanted to do the Apocalypse War storyline. You're also bringing the Justice League together. Pick one, right? You don't have to do it all at once.
Right. I would have liked to watch a Cyborg movie. You know?
But even when you bring them together, like it doesn't have to be fighting Darkseid initially, right? Like
Right.
you got plenty of other villains to choose from.
Right.
Like like having like a Joker blowing up the world scenario, it requires the Justice League. It does. Batman couldn't stop that necessarily, right? So I mean, something where it's bigger than Batman or it's bigger than Superman or whatever, right? But they tried to do too much, and he went like all Snyder on us with over stylizing things, trying to make it super cool, super slow motion. It's like, come on, man. Like
The '08 version of The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker, I think that was one of the best because the Joker just seemed like it was about escalation.
Yeah.
And it was just rob a bank and then kill a cop, and then it was like shoot the mayor, and then it was blow up a hospital,
Yeah.
and then eventually it was like blow up the two ships.
to make them choose
Right.
which one to blow up.
Blow up one of them. So it was just like escalating, like a criminal mastermind who was just like getting more and more daring, right? But it wasn't, I'm gonna set off a nuke that's gonna eradicate the world or like set off some doomsday device. It was just like a maniac who's really smart, and you could buy that this could happen. And maybe part of it was like Heath Ledger had died by the time that movie came out, so it was like he was almost this mythological thing because you weren't seeing him in interviews talking about, oh, it was great to play the Joker. It was just like this character existed, and then the person who played him was gone, and it was like just this perfect moment in time was captured by that Joker.
Yeah, I read that actually the character took a toll on him, like mentally.
Apparently he was having trouble sleeping, and that was part of like the drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know, but
I don't know. Yeah.
We don't know what's in people's lives. It can't be easy to be a superstar and to go from movie to movie and have a wife and a kid who are like on a different continent and stuff. It can't be easy for him. And he was also apparently sick at the time too.
Yeah.
So, but he was 28 years old when he died. Tough. It's weird. I'm 40 now. You're what, 49, 50?
No, 45, 46.
So it's weird, and I think we talked about this offline, growing up past the people that, like I was younger than Heath Ledger when he died, and now he looks young to me.
Yeah.
It's pretty soon we're going to be looking back at people like JFK, who died at 46.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he looks like a young man. Like, because you always hear about adults say when someone dies in their 40s or 50s, oh, they were so young. They were so young. But, like, you're 10, and it's like, well, that seems really far, like, really
Seems
old.
pretty old.
Yeah. But, 46 now seems pretty young. I feel like I'm just learning how to be a human being.
Yeah, like, it's also interesting because as you get to this age, people your age start dying. Like, classmates or, like, people that you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I mean, it's getting it's getting to be time.
Who have you known from your peer group that has died?
No one I've been close with, but like several classmates, either through like drugs or like murdered or whatever, right? I mean, I came from small town North Carolina and wasn't exactly like the best area, so like
I had a couple of friends. There was one girl who was on my bus in high school that died.
Yeah.
And I remember like that was the big thing. If you died, you got a whole page in the yearbook. That was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was another girl who I went to high school with who died a few years ago, who I was close, like online friends with. We chatted a lot online, and like she loved cats, and so she would always comment on my pictures of cats and stuff like that. And she died of some kind of kidney thing. And
I was about to, I thought you were going to say like cat scratch fever.
no, yeah, she was murdered.
Toxoplasmosis.
She was murdered in her sleep by a house cat.
You seen the cat's eye?
I have not seen the cat's eye. I've seen the box for the cat's eye.
You need to see the cat's eye.
All right,
it's a Stephen King story.
I remember like working in a video store and seeing it on the shelf a lot of times. I never watched it.
It's worth seeing.
But yeah, it's weird. I've had a few coworkers that were slightly older than me that died, and then during COVID, I knew a couple of people who worked. There was one lady who worked at my company who was 33 years old, like really good shape, and she died. So that's why when people say, "Oh, COVID was nothing," I was like, "No, do you guys not remember freaking like trucks full of like frozen bodies?"
People explain that away. Well, that didn't happen. It was lies. Like,
it did happen.
Okay, whatever.
It happened.
Yeah, it definitely happened.
So I knew people.
Yeah.
But anyway, dream scenario definitely quite good. Any final thoughts since we're shortening these things up?
Just check out as many Nicolas Cage movies as you can.
All right, so uncut gems for you for next week. Pick one for me.
Oh shoot. I'll get back to you.
All right. So to be continued. We'll find out next week on the
That's
episode of The Dudes.
Next week on the episode of The Dudes.